rest of this stuff is like, hold on though. We can't be ignorant. And I'm going to lean on the prophets and apostles. Me and the man living in my time can talk about these things. But I'm going to lean on this stuff first. Because our whole faith is based off of the prophets and apostles. And if they are in error or if they are in disagreements, prophets call the last days another time. But the apostles were talking in their letters about the end of Jerusalem in 70 AD. I'll still ask that question about John. His visions, being an old man, was still a part of what started in Acts. The visions, the dreams, the prophesying with the tongues and all that. All of that is what's going to happen in the last days. Brother, when they asked the Messiah, tell us when shall these things end? When they asked him, is you going to restore the kingdom to Israel? Didn't he tell them, it is not for you to know the hour? Because the Father hath put these things into his hand. So how are you trying to tell us the hour and the Father still got these things in his hand? So that's why I had to concentrate on, we need to look at days from the standpoint of God because the time is in his hand. Right. That's what the Messiah said. The Father ain't telling you. He ain't even tell me to tell you because it's all left in his hand. He gonna let me know. You see what I'm saying? So how is it that we just, the last days ended with this? This is what they was talking about. We in the age of grace now. Well, the age of grace and the last days of Jerusalem are still within the age of sin. I'm going to put that out there. Just like one football game is still within a season. So that particular game, beginning and ending, still don't end the whole season of games. So an age you might want to point at does not end what the prophets were referring to as the last days. Point blank. Brother, let us move on. Go to Luke 21. Luke 21 and start reading at verse 5. It's something that's not paid attention to here either. And that's why Luke 21 wasn't dealt with extensively as it should have been. But one of the brothers here who taught on Matthew 24 is not completely fulfilled, used Luke 21 just as graciously as Matthew 24 was used. So let's go to Luke 21 and see something. Start at verse 5.
And as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said, As for these things which ye behold, the days will come, in which there shall not be left one stone upon another, that shall not be thrown down.
Amen. This is the same conversation from Matthew 24. I want to establish that. Go ahead.
And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass?
So now it's not being asked as extensively as it was last time. Here, Luke, who actually did not walk with Jesus himself, but joined the brotherhood after. And he wrote according to their witness. But he witnessed their work and he witnessed the growth of the church. He wrote his gospel from Matthew, Mark, John, and whoever else were eyewitnesses of everything that the Messiah did and dealt with. And that's why people are trying to dismiss Luke writing like, well, Luke actually didn't walk with Jesus himself, so Luke, so on and so forth. Okay, let us go ahead and let us continue to read, because that question would make it seem like it's a different question being asked here. When they said, well, Lord, when shall these things be, and what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? So if you put this with Matthew, you get in the whole story. Just like in the Gospels, one story just say that they came by night and they got Jesus in the garden, right? Mm-hmm. But then in another one, it get into a little more detail. Yeah, and Peter pulled out the knife and cut off, even named the guy Malchus, servant of the chief high priest, cut his ear off. And Jesus said, no, don't do that, and basically healed the guy's ear. But because you didn't read that in another account of the same story, one don't cancel out the other.
Right.
If we both watch an event and we tell people the event from our positions at the event, that don't mean we lying. I'm just telling you what I saw. So here, when they ask the question, and this writer didn't write it the same way as the other, it don't mean nothing. It's still the same conversation and the same thing being alluded to. Go ahead, brother, and read verse 8.
And he said, Take heed that ye be not deceived, For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ. And the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them.
Now, look at that. First of all, Jesus is telling you, many people going to come telling you, yeah, I'm Jesus. You know, that. Not saying that they necessarily are Jesus, like, no, I'm the Messiah. No, they're going to come saying that, who, no, Jesus of Nazareth, man, that was the Messiah. And they'll use that to trick you. That's how Satan that's how his church set up. His church come in the name of Jesus. But not the true name of Jesus. Just in the word, but not in the spirit of, which is also his name. His reputation is his name. So here, they're going to come. And when they come telling you, yeah, Jesus was this and Jesus was that, man, the time draweth near. You know what that means? Yo, the last days is upon us. It's almost done.
Oh.
The time draw near. That's what they're going to come telling you. Continue.
For when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by.
Do you know what that means? The end is not by and by? It's not nowhere in sight yet. Why is it that that's being read like, see, it was wars back then. It was this and that back then. This and that did this. And see, hold on, calm down. It said, actually, that the end is not by and by. You still not near the end, even though you start to hear some of these kind of things going on. 10, please.
Then he said unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines and pestilence and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven.
Y'all know we just had a light earthquake up here in the mountains in upstate New York 2 days ago. A place where earthquakes just not heard of. It's not California. We don't sit on the fault line, all of that. But it was a like 2 point something on the Richter scale earthquake up in Wyoming County. That's only like, what, 30, 40 minutes from us? Come on, y'all. But, you know, people say, well, just because stuff like that going on in our time, that's not what he was talking about here. He was talking about all the diverse earthquakes and the famines and the pestilence and the wars in 8 days leading up to 70 AD. All right, if that's what you want to stand on, then you stand on that. But it's something real intriguing the Messiah going to say here that just killed all of that. Go ahead.
But before all these...
Now, hold on. Before the nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom.
That's right.
This is why the end is not by and by, because before all of that happened, this is going to start to happen to y'all. Go ahead.
But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to synagogues, up in the synagogues, and into prisons, being brought before the kings and rulers for my name's sake.
Continue.
And it shall turn to you for a testimony.
That's the testimony that's read about in the book of Revelation. Go ahead.
Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer.
Christ tell them, I'm going to give you the answer through my spirit in you. Skip to 16.
And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinfolk and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake.
Now Christ explained and he just started to answer the questions however he wanted to answer them. But the key here is that before the wars and rumors of wars, before nation rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, they're going to be killing his apostles and his disciples off.
Right.
So when Peter got killed, close to Jerusalem being destroyed, when Paul got killed in his later years, you heard about things that supposed to happen to James, John. All of this was getting close to the destruction of Jerusalem. The nation rising against nation and kingdom against kingdom didn't happen yet.
No.
And all of that's, these brothers said all of that's a part of the last days. Do you understand the point that I'm trying to make?
Yes, sir.
The point that's being made, brothers and sisters, is that the killing of the saints, I'm talking about the actual disciples and them who Jesus was talking to, all of that was going to happen to them first, and then this other stuff going to start happening in the earth, and those who being warned of it by them going to be seeing. That's why Jews say, yo, remember what the apostles told us. Why? Because in the day of Jews, some apostles had already been put to death. Right. Some disciples had already been killed. So he trying to, remember these things that they've been teaching us. So you would think that it all got to happen at the same time. as the apostles and them being hurt, the disciples is being put in prison, some of them being